Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Up Show brought to you by Superleague Triathlon. It is another isolation special, but we are not going to let being in different places stop us from bringing you a great show today. I'm Dave Rogers. I will be your host, and I will hopefully be joined very shortly by Annie Emerson. Annie, are you with me?
Yes! I am, Dave. I'm absolutely with you all the way.
Oh, that is a great start. Now, on the last show, I set you a bit of a trampoline challenge because you've been living it up in Costa del Surrey. How have you got on?
Failed miserably, I have to say. I think sometimes we all have to get to a point in life where we just know that something's not possible. And I could do the front, I could do the cartwheels, but the backflips weren't coming. And I think my husband just looked at me and just went, "What are you trying to do? Because you're going to break my back or you're going to break your own back." But I have had, I've had a couple of challenges. Well, one in particular that was absolutely amazing last week. Took part in a friend's, Louise Minchin, good friend of mine who I've worked with. Big night in and rode 80k on Swift, which might not seem a lot, but when you haven't been on a bike properly really for about 14 years, it was quite impressive, I guess. But I nearly fell off it, and I certainly had a very sore ass the next day.
I was going to say,
putting it mildly.
Did you need a bag of frozen peas afterwards? How do you nearly fall off a turbo trainer, by the way? Come on, I need more details.
I hit the wall and nearly passed out as I got off it. I suddenly realised I was having this massive sugar low, and I just went, whoa. But I tell you what, after a big plate of pasta and a large glass of red wine, I was rocking and rolling again.
I was going to say, how did you fix the sugar low? I'd have gone straight for the chocolate, but pasta and wine was your weapon of choice.
Perfect. Dave, just tell me too about you, because I know you've been doing some music challenges, and I was listening to you and I didn't realise what a great voice you have and also how well you sing. And play the guitar as well as sing.
Flattery will get you absolutely everywhere, but I've had a bit more time on my hands, so I've dusted off the musical instruments, but they will not be making it into the Power Up Show. That is a completely different thing altogether. Now, I'm slightly flushed in the cheeks with embarrassment, so I think it's time to move on. We have got a great show today. We have got a brilliant guest, Sophie Coldwell. We will be joining her in her pain cave, the blue jersey holder, currently 5th in the Super League standings. We'll be talking about the Zwift racing that our Super League athletes have been excelling in. Sophie is one of those as well, a brilliant finish for her in the Zwift Classics in the week. And we'll be catching up with Mackers. We know WTF he is, but he'll be getting itchy feet to match Annie's sore ass, but no doubt he's got some opinions. He'll be there stirring the pot, and it'll be great to hear from him a little bit later on. But before we catch up with our guest today, Annie, there has been more news in the world of triathlon recently. None of it's good news at the moment, so just rip the Band-Aid off. What have you heard?
Well, as of Friday last week, we heard that the final race of the World Triathlon Series has gone. So Edmonton, which was staging the grand final, the elite racing, all the age group racing has gone. No big surprise, really, Dave, to be honest with you. I think we were just waiting to hear the news. But that does mean at the moment, no World Triathlon Series so far. Well, this year planned so far. They're talking about possibly putting on a few races at the end of the year, but who knows whether that will happen or not.
It's not just triathlon either. In France, Ligue 1, the main football league, they've decided that no football is going to happen until the 1st of August. Interestingly, the IOC have said that the Olympics will not be postponed again. If we can't get a handle on this pandemic, then the Olympics will be cancelled. I think we'd all agree that that would be a travesty, but obviously safety first. And interestingly, Reading women's team in the WSL are the first professional club to actually furlough the players. So I'm sure that'll be a relief for them to know that they'll at least be able to put food on the table. But for sports fans and athletes alike, it is all pretty miserable at the moment. So let's change the mood and have a little bit of a chat about our guest, Annie. You've been calling her races for quite a long time. Let's take it back to the start. When did you first come across Sophie, and what were your first impressions of her?
Well, always fantastic. You know, she's a great athlete and a really cool person. She says it as it is. There's no frills. Very honest, great athlete. And I do remember the first time. So going back to 2014, so 6 years ago, and Sophie would have been a young 19-year-old then, and as bold and brave as she ever is. It was a sprint national championships, and for some strange reason, Gwen Jorgensen, who was just absolutely winning every single race she took part in at that time on the World Triathlon Series, also went on to win the Olympic Games, decided to come to Liverpool, very wet, cold Liverpool, and take on Sophie Coldwell. I say take on Sophie Coldwell because Sophie managed to swim, as we know she does, brilliantly, rode amazingly well with a very well-known now, Jess Learmonth, and actually managed to keep Gwen Jorgensen off her for, I think it was about 3.5K, so with 1.5K to go. It was a sprint distance race, and that was Sophie Coldwell at the age of 19. Those are my first memories of her, and it was a tough day, and I think she continues to grow in that toughness as well, as we see in the Super League racing. And of course on the World Triathlon Series she's raced very well. I remember reporting a race where she rode off the front with Flora Duffy. That was about 3 years ago, and finished fourth in the World Triathlon Series. And I think probably my best memory so far is watching her race in Malta last year, where she just had an outstanding race. You know, watching her go with Rachel Klammer and Katie Sophies was just absolutely amazing. It really was. So I think when I saw that athlete 6 years ago, I believe she was going to turn into something special, and I think we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, we certainly are. And I suppose with the strength in depth in British triathlon, particularly on the women's side, you need races like that to really catch the eye of the public, the fans, the sponsors as well. And she's certainly capable of doing that. So let's meet her, shall we? The blue jersey holder, the best swimmer in Superleague Triathlon. She had a great Zwift Classic where she finished in 6th place recently. We'll talk about that. But 5th in Superleague overall, fans' favourite, one of the best there is. Let's take a look at some of Sophie Coldwell's best bits. Sophie Coldwell, welcome. They've just put your career SLT prize money on there, so I guess the Milky Bars are on you. But how are you? It's really, really nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm doing all right, actually. It was quite nice watching those that little snippet of the sport back, kind of missing racing. So, yeah, it was nice to remind myself, of what racing actually is. So, yeah, doing all right.
Tell us where you are right now, because is that your pain cave? If you are, if it is, you are definitely on brand. There's that great picture of you in the background. Even the walls are blue as well.
Yes, I'm at home in our blue pain cave with sparkles because I thought I'd jazz it up a little bit. And yeah, we've got quite a few pictures and stuff around, so I thought I'd put myself in the background rather than Tom. So yeah.
So you're on lockdown right now. I'd imagine you've been spending an awful long time there, sort of keeping on top of everything. Are you actually missing the racing, and sort of how are you coping with it all?
Yeah, it's such an odd situation for everyone, I suppose. Like, definitely missing racing. I don't train for the sake of training. I train to race. So it's, you kind of hit the end of the season, you have a couple of weeks down, you then spend the winter training, but knowing that come March time, you're gonna hit the racing. So super weird time to just be training and not really have, a specific goal at the moment. That being said, I'm kind of still keeping motivated with stuff on Zwift and, throwing a few run time trials and stuff in. So yeah, making the most of the situation, but yeah, definitely missing, racing and just simple things like having a group to train with. You kind of, you miss just, bouncing off each other and, the social side of that. So yeah, it's an odd time and definitely missing normality of triathlon.
Sophie, let's turn our attention to your actual sort of career and experience in Super League racing. You started off in 2017 when they staged the first women's event there and had an absolute stormer. Bold and brave, I would put it. You really stuck it to everyone, both on the swim and the bike. But in your mind, how was that different to what you'd been doing up until that point? Because from what I've seen in Super League, it's incredibly hard, and you've just got to be so accurate in everything you do.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, watched Hamilton Island and, saw what the guys were doing and was like, wow, this is, really cool. And then it kind of, came out they were going to put on men and women. It was going to be in Jersey. And I was thinking, whoa, I really want to be there. But yeah, back in 2017, really hadn't achieved, kind of any notable things to kind of get my, place for that. And then I remember I was in Hamburg and my manager rang and said, we've managed to get you in with Jodie. And I was thinking, oh my days, I can't believe I've actually managed to get a start of this incredible race. Looks right up my street, hard racing. That's kind of what I do, go from the gun and hope for the best. So yeah, turned up in Jersey thinking, I can't believe I'm here to start with. So yeah, did my usual, pretty much go from the gun, and yeah, that's my style of racing. And it's nice that you kind of get rewarded a bit more for that kind of style in Super League. So have enjoyed all the races that I've done so far. I think, I've learned so much about racing, about kind of abilities, and it definitely highlights some aspects that need working on. So it's been, great to also help my ITU and that kind of side of triathlon as well.
We do see in Super League some monumental performances, some monumental success, and some monumental cock-ups, don't we, really? And I think it's a completely different skill set because, as I mentioned previously, it's about speed and it's about accuracy. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, and I think it definitely shows like how much you understand the sport and like how much of a racer you are, because there's so much that you have to think about. And yeah, it's great being physically capable, but actually you've got to have that mental side as well. And yes, sprint and Olympic distance, you obviously have to be able to race well, but you can make those small mistakes and actually they don't cost you. Whereas in Super League, like that could be the difference between, making that final or actually getting eliminated, not even getting to race for the final positions.
And I'd just like to touch on 2019. Obviously, you were out in 2018 in Super League, but you came back in 2019, and what a stormer you had in Malta. You really did. I think for me, it was one of the most intelligent, the most impressive performances I've seen from you in your triathlon career when you stuck with Klarma and Sophies in that semi-final race.
Yeah, I mean, 2018 was a weird one. Like I've kind of always wanted to just carry on racing. But by the end of 2018, like not only was I physically not there, but I was mentally just absolutely fried as well. So yeah, made the decision to just do Jersey. And then kind of last year really wanted to come out and do, as many races that were kind of going on. So yeah, kind of went into Jersey and Malta thinking, right, I'm a stronger. I've done Super League for a couple of years now, so hopefully I'm going to put that physical and mental side of things together and put in some good performances. So yeah, Malta kind of came to a point where I actually started to get a bit closer and closer to that elusive Super League podium. So yeah, hopefully Super League does go on this year, and if it does, I'm really hoping that I can get close to that podium.
I remember speaking to you on a boat trip in Malta. It was a strictly business boat trip. I don't want any of the fans who are watching thinking we were actually enjoying ourselves outside of racing. But we had a chat about that blue jersey, and you said that it was something that you're very proud of and that it's something that you kind of want to take ownership of. When you first joined Super League and you found out that there would be individual prizes for swim, bike, run, transition, etc., did you think, oh, crikey, this is something I can sort of really get along with, really go with here?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as I've said before, like that's my style of racing, like go from the gun. And, I've kind of came from more of a sprint swimming background. So actually, the swims when they're like 300 meters suit me so much better than, 750 or 1500 because, yeah, I kind of burn all my matches pretty early on and then still have to swim another K. Whereas this, you're kind of burning your matches and you've only got to get another 100 meters and I can survive that. So, yeah, I think being able to have that blue jersey for me, like, that's a big thing for me. And, yeah, I really hope that I can, hold on to that as long as I can. And, yeah, it's something that I am proud to have that.
But right now in the pain cave, you can get on the treadmill, you can get on the Watt bike or the Zwift or the Turbo or whatever you're doing. Swimming's a little bit more difficult. So where does that leave you? And do you have one eye on what everyone else in SLT's up to when it comes to the water?
Yeah, I mean, this whole swimming thing is, it's given me a headache, if I'm honest. Like, before lockdown properly happened, me and Tom, my other half, were looking into endless pools. He had a bit of a calf niggle. So we were like, well, we could 2 birds, 1 stone. Let's get an endless pool, underwater treadmill. Like, this will be great. Then we found out they were 40 grand, and I was thinking, no, that is a lot of money. Like, there is absolutely no way we have 40 grand to spend on a swimming pool. Like, that is ridiculous. So quickly decided that wasn't the way we were going to go. And then, kind of people have started getting paddling pools and tethering themselves to that. And I don't know, like, for me personally, like, that does not motivate me. Like, to go in a freezing cold pool in my garden whilst tethered to a post, for me, that's just not motivational. And I think, like, that is also not properly swimming. So I kind of have canned all of that on the head, and I'm just going to go down the route of improving stuff on the bike and improving stuff on the run. And then I will keep shoulder health in, I'll keep some activation and a bit of work upper body. And then hopefully when pools do open, we can drop down some cycling and running and push swimming back on. But yeah, it is a hard one because, you see stuff on social media. And I mean, Cassandra's only a couple of points behind me in the blue jersey. And, her and Leonie are fortunate they've got a decent swimming pool they can actually swim in. So yeah, I mean, I keep an eye on what other people are doing, but I'm going to stick to my gardens and hopefully we'll have access to a pool for 6 to 8 weeks before we race. And hopefully that'll be enough to hopefully hold on to my jersey.
I think you'll be absolutely fine, Sophie. I really do. I think when you come from that strong swim background, I think, you pull it back pretty fast as long as you're doing the strength work. You touched on the fact that you like to swim shorter distances, but I've kind of noticed a couple of times in the SLT races, you're really strong in the first swims, but then the swim kind of drops off a little bit in the next rounds. What would you put that down to?
I think, I did come from I've always done triathlon since I was 8 years old, but kind of from the age of probably about 12 to 15, went down, not specific, but I did a lot more sprint swimming, went to national champs and kind of did go down that route a bit more. So I think, I am pretty quick, but it does cost me a lot. So when I'm fresh and ready to, stand on that start line, having not done anything, I'd back myself to 50 or 100 meters. But as soon as you start like putting in the fatigue from bikes and runs, and then multiple swims, it does cost me. And then means I've got to, dig into that more 1500, the kind of the training we do for that. And, the base that we've got for that, which is another reason why I'd be a bit worried going into a multi-event like Super League without having done the background swimming. So it'll be interesting. And like I say, hopefully if I can get 6 to 8 weeks in before we are racing, then hopefully I'd back myself to be able to, swim well enough.
We're all adapting to our situations and we have to go with what we've got. But it must be pretty frustrating knowing that some of the other SLT athletes are out there swimming in 25-meter pools, right?
I mean, it is, I think, but we're all in the same boat. Like we're not racing. So, someone could have a 50-meter pool, they could all be riding outside and, everything like that, but we're still not racing. And I think, this whole pandemic is a lot bigger than just triathlon. It's a lot bigger than sport. So that's frustrating. But actually at the moment, like I'm healthy, my family are healthy, friends are staying healthy. So we'll just go with the flow, do what I can. And when the time arises to race, like I'll do my usual and give it 110%.
Now, Sophie, don't go anywhere because we're going to hear from Macker now. When the Power Up show began, it was WTF is Macker because he was always somewhere different around the world. but now he's on locked on like the rest of us, and I don't think he deals with the isolation particularly well. So he's got some opinions. It's always great to hear from him, and it's been brilliant to have him and Will reunited when it's come to the Zwift racing. I'm sure what happens behind the camera is even more entertaining than what happens in front of it. But Sophie, brace yourself. He's got some opinions. He's got some questions. No, I'm only joking. He's always lovely. You know that. But let's find out. WTF is Macca.
Hey guys, how are you? Checking in from Sydney, Australia. Again, 6 weeks we've been here, and as you can see, the weather's starting to get a little cooler, a little darker. It's moving into winter down here in Sydney. It's probably 18 or 19 degrees today, which I know for a lot of people in Europe is not really considered winter, but for us Australians who are solar powered, it's definitely cold. And I've been getting up very, very early on these winter mornings at 3:30 a.m. our time, I think 7 p.m. London time, to call a lot of our Superleague Esports Zwift races that we've been calling, both myself and Will McCloy. Seeing the athletes go around in the Zwift cycling events. Last one we called was Watopia Cup with, actually we called the Crit with the men the other day, but the Watopia Cup was the last women's race we called. We had a great chat with Sophie Coldwell, who did an amazing debut race for the Superleague athletes, and I know Sophie's on the show today. I'm really looking forward to hearing what Sophie has to say, because I'm a big fan of Sophie's racing. I think when she made her debut in Super League racing, I remember it vividly, in Jersey 2017. We always think of Sophie as our initial first blue jersey wearer in the series, but she's more than that. If you cast your mind back to that race in Jersey, she went off the front. She was very, very dominant in that triple mix format, even that eliminator, in the equalizer, well, not the equalizer, the eliminator format, where it's conventional swim, bike, run. And she just really sets her racing up with that aggressive swim start, that big bite power, and her run's coming a long way. And I'm going to say this, I know that the British women are probably the most powerful triathlon nation in the world at the moment, with Vicky Holland, you've got Jess Learmouth, you've got Georgia Taylor-Brown, you've got Non Stanford, you've got Jodie Stimson, you've got Sophie Coldwell. The list goes on and on of talent in the UK. But I will say that if they are looking for Olympic gold medal in the relay, you need to be specific in your relay choices. And I know the Olympics is not allowing that specificity to allow relay athletes to be selected along with individual athletes, but if the UK is looking for success to take out the French in that mixed relay, you need to look at Sophie Coldwell as being on that team, because I believe Sophie's probably one of the best relay racers in the world. She sets up that relay for that powerful women's team that the UK could have, and I just couldn't go past a selection of Sophie in a relay specific format. Obviously we've got to select for the individual, and you have such depth in that individual side, but if you were picking for a relay athlete, I think Sophie Coldwell is that style of athlete that the Brits need to grasp or to grab that Olympic gold medal, because you have so much talent. I just think she's the perfect candidate for that type of racing format, and we've seen that in Super League. That's all I really have to say. I didn't know what else to talk about. I'm looking forward to hearing everything you have to say. So thanks for an amazing race the other night. It was fantastic. To everyone in London, I hope you guys are safe and well following everything. Sorry about the boats going back and forward in the background. I'll let it go now, and take care. Look forward to watching the show. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Macca. Always great to hear from you. And you saying that 19 degrees is cold. It's supposed to be summertime here, and I turned the central heating on today. So anyway, also, I learned a new word then, specificity. So whatever that means, answers on a postcard. Sophie, Macca says he's a big fan of yours. What do you make of what he had to say there?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to hear those comments. I think he pretty much, hit the nail on the head. And I am wanting to be an athlete that is, great all round. And the run is something that I'm working on. And yeah, hopefully that is going to come on enough to kind of, make that jump to be one of the better Brits. We have such, like you said, we have such depth as the female side of things. And yeah, just making teams and stuff now is super hard. You kind of, you look at the WTS standings and, the ITU standings and stuff. And I'm kind of sat 15th, 16th for those rankings, and that's still like 5th Brit. And back in last year, you're still questioning, am I going to get starts for these races? For ITU stuff, you're allowed 5 Brits on the start line, and we've kind of, at the moment, this is not even considering the youngsters that we've got coming up. We've still got 6 females that are, really wanting those spots, and have, apart from myself, they've all medalled at WTS level. So yeah, it's super hard being a Brit, but yeah, success breeds success, and hopefully I'll manage to step up.
Well, if we can bring Annie in for a sec, because I'd love to get both of your opinions on this. Macker was quite specific. He used his specificity about the mixed relay, and he said, Sophie, that he thinks that you really fit that mixed relay profile. Annie, I was wondering if you feel the same, and then Sophie, if you could give us your opinion on it for when the selectors watch this and they're making their picks.
Okay, well, Sophie's sitting there, so it's difficult to talk about her. But, firstly, a massive compliment that she's a great team player. Just Sophie, the people, when I see you hanging out with the team, you're absolutely brilliant. And I think it's critical in any sort of mixed relay event, you get on with the people that you're going to be racing with. You're an outstanding swimmer, as Macca rightly said. On the bike as well, you're so strong. I mean, just looking at your race the other night on Swift, like averaging 4.9 watts per kilo. I mean, bloody impressive, really, absolutely awesome racing. I know we're going to talk about that later, but I'm going to touch on that subject, which is a bit of a difficult one, because if I go back to watching you race in 2014, you've improved on the swim and bike. It was brilliant then, it's even better now, but there's still a lot of work on the run, and that, don't you too? So what can you do? What do you have in place to make that happen, just to sort of seal you as a podium contender in every race that you do, which you absolutely deserve?
Yeah, I know. Like you say, the run has been a sticking point, and I just seem to kind of get, I'll have a decent winter and things will step on and I'll see improvements, and then I fall off my bike and crack my pelvis, and then I'm like on crutches. So yeah, and then this year was another similar thing. Like, had a really good winter, ran like 45-second 5K PB just after Christmas, and then ended up with a bursitis in my glute, and then that led to needing an injection in my knee, and then that turned out with a tiny stress response in my pelvis. And I'm just like, if I could just have a few consecutive winters of just like consistent running, like I kind of see these glimmers of like hope in my running, and then I'll get like a niggle, or I'm missing a couple of weeks here and a couple of weeks there. And I'm just one of those athletes that if I can string together like weeks and weeks and months, and then years and years of training, like I do believe that I can be an athlete that can get off the bike and run for podiums. And yeah, I'm just really hoping that, once my bike's obviously improving, and if I can get that to a level that it doesn't need as much work, then I can take a bit of that and use a bit of that energy for a bit more running, and hopefully that means I'm a bit less prone to getting a few niggles and stuff. So yeah, like I said, I see glimmers of hope in the run. So if I can just stay injury free, and if we don't race that year on one hand, like, that's okay, because hopefully that means that I can just continue with this consistency, and then fingers crossed next year I can come out and actually have improved my run, another jump forward to be fighting for those podiums.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say just 25 years of age, and with those kind of months that you've had to sit out because of injury, there's absolutely still masses of room for important. But I think going back to what Macca said about you being, a potential, or actually, I think he was more detailed than that and said that you absolutely should be considered for selection for the mixed relay at the Olympics if it was possible. I think that's why you're so good at the SLT racing, because over those short distances, you are just so good. But yeah, I guess that is the area you have to work on, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. And like, I love the relay. Like, I've raced relays. I think back to like the youth relays back, that was the first time I ever got a GB tri-suit, was, going to those events. And yeah, I love a relay. I love coming together as a team. And, I think I'm quite fortunate that I can race both the first or third leg. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing the duathlon relay, which I never thought I'd say, because you've just taken my swim out. But yeah, that was great in Nottingham. And yeah, I do love a relay, and I think it does, a bit like the Super League, I think it brings out just another level of my racing. And yeah, I'd love to be selected for the Olympics. So,
Do you think the delay helps or hinders you?
Oh, I don't know. probably helps in one respect because it just gives me a bit more time to work on that run. But yeah, anything could happen. I mean, I could be injured again by next year. So I think it is what it is. And, you know, like everyone's saying that if they don't happen next year, they'll get cancelled. So I really hope that they do go on next year, whether I'm in that team or not, because I love the Olympics. I love everything that it represents. And yeah, I think so many athletes, not just from triathlon, work, you know, so hard. And, you know, for some people, this might be their first or last chance at an Olympic Games. So yeah, whether I'm in that team or not, I really do hope they go ahead next year.
I think the one thing we've all learned, whether we're athletes, I say we are athletes, whether you are athletes or we are fans, is that we are never, ever going to take life sport for granted. Ever again. So fingers crossed for those Olympics. Let's touch on Zwift then. We've been promising from the top of the show that we'd be talking about it. Esports, it's the only racing at the moment. You seem to have done pretty well at it. 6th place the other day, really impressive numbers. Were you happy at the end of it?
I couldn't believe it, actually, if I'm honest. Well, firstly, I couldn't believe that I was doing esports and was doing all this Discord chat and Zoom and all this stuff. It's all very new to me. So yeah, firstly, couldn't believe I was doing e-racing, and then secondly, couldn't believe I ended up with 6th. So yeah, it was so good, actually. I really enjoyed it, and you know, my partner Tom got really involved, and yeah, loved cheering me on and working out when we were going to do the power ups, and yeah, it was so good. And I said before, like, oh, I really hope I come top 20. And then Tom was like, you told me that prize money was down to top 15, so top 15 would be good. And I was like, oh my God. And then, and then the group got down to like 15. I was like, oh, maybe I can get a top 10. So yeah, finished off 6th, pocketed a couple £100, and yeah, I was super happy.
Honestly, it was great to watch you race. I love watching it. And I do think that, you know, Richard Murray that we interviewed a couple of weeks back talked about the skill of racing on Zwift. And it's not quite as straightforward as it seems. So for me, watching you race so well and knowing where to place yourself, which is exactly what we've seen in Super League racing, I think was key almost to that success for you on the night.
I just couldn't believe how hard it went off. Like everyone was saying, yeah, Zwift races go off hard. And I'd done a couple that were just like on the Zwift events. And then I'd done one of the Zwift Triathlon series ones. And then it literally was just like a whole new level. It kind of went off and I was pushing like 400 watts and I was like in 70th. And I was like, I'm literally going to get dropped before we've even started here. But the one thing I do really struggle with Zwift is like the lag on it. So I'm kind of like sat in 70th thinking, right, I need to get up to like top 15, top 20 here. So like put in another effort and then I'm suddenly off the front and I'm like, I do not want to be at the front. So I'm like, then just kind of stop pedaling and then all of a sudden I'm back in 40th and it was like yo-yoing trying to kind of get into that 15, 20th position. But yeah, once I was there, I was just trying to stay there. Tom was shouting at me like when I needed to just close the gaps up a bit. So yeah, he was proper getting into it as well, which was nice because yeah, we're both missing sport and cheering each other on and stuff. So yeah, it was really good fun and surprised myself. And yeah, it was, I actually really enjoy a bit of Zwift racing.
You mentioned Tom there, Sophie. We were chatting with Richard and Rachel Klammer about their relationship and how it works. Obviously, you two are quite different because Tom is a GB ultra runner and you're a triathlete. So
yeah, I am not running 100
sports.
miles.
I was going to say, do you ever go on a run with him? Does he allow you to come on a run? I've seen him. He's pretty quick and he can go forever.
Yeah, we do a few in the week. I say fortunately for me, unfortunately for him, he had a bit of a calf niggle kind of when lockdown was happening. So it meant that for the first few weeks he was doing basically all my running, which was nice because it meant that he could drag me around for all my sessions. But now he's back. Yeah, he's fully running. He's got some crazy challenges coming up the next few weeks on the treadmill and stuff. But we do like kind of, if we've got a session, we'll go at the same time and we'll warm up and cool down together and stuff. But apart from that, he might do his easy 2K warm up with me and then he's like, see ya, I'm off now. So yeah, but he also does quite a lot of biking as well. So, because there is only so much you can run in a week. So he actually does quite a bit of biking as well. So it's nice that we're either turboing together or in a normal week, he'll come out and ride a bit as well. So yeah, it's nice that we're not both triathletes because I think there'll be just too much triathlon going on. But at the same time, it's nice that we're both involved in sport and can appreciate what each other's doing and, you know, and how life is different when you do sport as a job.
While we're talking about Tom, did you have any luck getting the car back?
Yes, it has actually been
I'm glad you're
found.
laughing. It's not funny.
Do you know what? It was horrendous, to be fair, because this is quite funny. The day before it got stolen, it was obviously like 2 days before Easter, and he was like, "I promise you, I've not got you an Easter egg." And I was like, "Well, I've got you an Easter egg." Blah blah blah. So then Saturday morning, I wake up and he gets up earlier than me. I'm a solid like 8 o'clock with no alarm. So I kind of get up, get my run stuff on to go running, come downstairs, and like he's nowhere to be seen. So I'm like, oh, open the curtains and his car's not there. So I was like, oh, that's cute. He's gone to get me an Easter egg. And then I turn around, like go over to the back of the kitchen, and from the kitchen, like you can see our little gym. And I was like, that's strange. Like it looks like someone's on the treadmill. So I like come round, like go into the gym, and he's obviously there on the treadmill, and he's doing like a virtual run thing. So he's on like Zoom. He's got people watching him, and I'm like, where's your car? And he's like, on the drive. And I'm like, it's not on the drive. And he's like, guys, really sorry, I've got to go. Someone's nicked my car. So yeah, someone had nicked the car. And then it had been used in further crime as a getaway car.
Oh my God.
And then it's been dumped and the police have found it, but we still haven't got it back. So yeah, I don't know if or when we'll get it back, but yeah.
Oh my goodness me. Well, I'm glad you can see the funny side. Fingers crossed for you, and hopefully no one got hurt, but you guys are safe, and that's the most important thing. This has been such a lovely chat, Sophie. It's so nice to know that you're doing well in lockdown and you're optimistic about the future. But I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't disappointed that we've not seen a dog.
Oh, well, they do love a bit of screen time, so I've put them away because, yeah, whenever you're trying to do something, people are like, oh, could you just film a little video of you doing this? And they're literally on your face, like trying to get involved. So I've very, they gave me the old puppy dog eyes. I was like, no, guys, you've got to stay away for this because you'll just be too annoying and you'll be on the screen the whole time. So yeah, I've shut them in the kitchen so they can't hog the camera.
I just, for those that are watching abroad and they're not sure of her East Midlands accent, Sophie said she shut them in the kitchen, not shot them in the kitchen. No dogs have been shot in the kitchen of the Power Up Show. Sophie, it has been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you. I can't wait till we're at the other side of lockdown and we can catch up in person. But look after yourself and we'll speak to you soon. Cheers, mate.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye. Cheers, guys.
Sophie, bye. Annie, how great is Sophie Coldwell? Proper, the exact kind of ambassador that Superleague Triathlon wants, I think.
I love chatting with her, and I'd love to have chatted a little bit more as well, but obviously she's got to go and sort the dogs out that are shot in the kitchen. She is, I think you're absolutely right. I think, in terms of what she's going to do in Super League, I'm really excited to watch her race because I really believe that she is going to be on the podium when hopefully the season starts up again. She's made for it. She absolutely is. And I've just been impressed by, her, every time I've watched her race Super League, right back to 2017, she puts in a solid performance every time.
Well, last week we spoke about Rachel Clammer and how she only needs to make a couple of tiny adjustments to be in contention for those top podium spots. And as you rightly point out, I think Sophie is in a very similar position as well. Right then, Power Up Show fans, particularly those who are fans of animals, we are not going to let you go a whole show without seeing a great dog. So let's take a look at some of the Super League socials, starting with Livy Matthias, who is photographed with a very handsome boy. Look at this. Who says you can't see?
Beautiful.
What a lovely dog. That's the main thing I look forward to. I go for a walk every day just so I can see some great dogs. And also, Sophie saying that she's struggling with the swim training. Not everybody is. Sabian Kulczynski has found a way. Looks like he's doing a butterfly there. That is such a gamble being on a bungee cord. If you go a little bit too powerful, you're ending up in next door's garden.
Can you imagine? I just don't fancy that. I'm with Sophie all the way. Not that I'm worried about swim training at all, but I'm with her. Also, I know that Jodie Stimpson's been at it as well, working really hard. And I guess you just got to do whatever you can, but that wouldn't be for me. And also the water. I think in that little Instagram post there, he said it was around about 6 degrees. You wouldn't catch me in there.
So cold. You know, that's been the one great thing about lockdown is the weather's been good. I don't know what it's like with you, but it is absolutely hosing it down today. So I shall be staying firmly indoors, and I hope that you guys are too. That is all we've got time for. Thanks, of course, to Sophie Coldwell. Annie, this has been really nice, isn't it?
It's been absolutely lovely. Let's have guests on like Sophie every single week, you know, and her hair, you know, not only is she a great athlete, but she looks great too, doesn't she? Hair looked absolutely fabulous today.
Well, the sooner that barbers and salons are declared as essential workers, the better, because I cannot wait to sit in the barber's chair. But thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, as always. Thank you to Sophie. Thank you, of course, to Annie. And thank you for joining us wherever you're watching around the world. We can't wait for you to join us next time. But in the meantime, head over to all of Super League socials to stay in touch with what all of our athletes are up to around the globe. But until next time, stay home, stay safe, stay in touch. Goodbye.